Hey, this is Ralph for the Prineville Chess Club. A few videos back, I posted a review of round one of a tournament I played in Idaho a couple months ago. And going back over that game was valuable for me just because it reminded me of some things that I needed to be better at to improve on. And hopefully those kinds of videos are interesting for you too. Even if you don't intend to play in a tournament, hopefully there's some takeaways which will allow you to improve at your over-the-board chess in a club or even in your online games. So this is from round two. And playing Jimmy, who was about, I think, like 1320, 1326 rated. And I am playing black. So I will flip the board in just a moment. But starting off, I won this game, black won, and it was a pretty good game for me. You can just see by this graph here, we started off even, and then black really started to get the advantage and held on through the end of the game. So that was a pretty painless, low stress. I shouldn't say painless, a low stress game. And I haven't looked at this game since I played it. And so I don't remember what some of the key takeaways might be. Another good reason that I'm going over these videos, even if nobody out there watches it, it's good for me to remind myself of some things to practice. So it was a good game. No blunders, no misses, no mistakes, a handful of best moves. Also no super stellar, great, or brilliant moves. Fair enough. I'm going to jump over to the analysis board though. And I want to flop the boards around. There's a way to do that, I'm sure. Well, there is a way to do that. Found it, but I wanted to show you where it is. But you hover over this, and then you get the flip board button. What's that little smiley face do? I don't know, but I'm going to click the flop board button. Okay, so I'm playing black. And again, I'm just going to kind of go through the moves, pressing the arrows on my keyboard. I'm not going to look at the engine over here on the right to see the engine lines, but I will keep an eye on the eval bar to see if it makes any dramatic shifts to one side or the other. White opens with d4. I have a couple responses that I typically do with this one. This is a King's Indian response called Indian game here. But I will typically do the Indian, knight to f6, and sometimes I will do f5, which is the Dutch. And I've practiced these black defenses to d4 a number of times. And by the way, there are, who knows, a dozen or more good responses by black to d4. I only study two of them. And if I feel like I get to a point to where I'm really great at those two, then I'll probably start adding a third and a fourth and a fifth response. But at my skill level and level of learning, I figure let me just try to get really good at two responses to d4. But so far, we're playing book moves. We get the little book icon, which means these are all standard openings by white and standard responses by black. Nothing too exciting. And we both know these, and so we're kind of going through the moves relatively quickly. All right, it's a good move. I castled a little bit earlier than planned, but okay, back into book moves. Good move here, or an okay move, whatever the check mark means. Can't remember if the thumbs up is good and the check mark is just okay. Oops, I clicked the wrong button. Jump back over here. Yeah, if you click the down arrow, it goes all the way to the end of the game. Notice on the eval bar, white does have an advantage. I'm not too bothered by this because in the Indian here, King's Indian, it's, I'm getting set up. And you notice in this particular opening, black does not have very good, not as good of control of the center as white does. That is understood in this particular opening. White has fantastic control of the center. They've got 3 pawns developed. They've got their knights looking at it. They've got their bishop out here. So yeah, black is a little bit behind in development, and white gets to go first. So of course, white does have a slight advantage overall in the game. That's all understood though. Nothing too scary with that. White castles. Now I'm going to start to develop and get my rook out. Okay, I bring my bishop, develop my bishop, pin their knight, and I'm perfectly prepared to get pushed away and then threaten to take that knight for my bishop. In a blunder by white. Okay, Rook E1 is a blunder. Now, before I look at my next move, I don't know what my next move is, and I haven't looked at the engine, and I'm not hitting my arrow yet to go to the next move. But if you're playing black here, white has just moved their rook out. What are my checks, captures, and threats? That's the thing I want to keep more in mind. That's the thing I want you to keep more in mind too during your play. Well, I don't have any, from black's perspective, I don't have any checks on the king, so no checks to worry about. Do I have any captures? Well, I do have several. I shouldn't say several. I've got some, right? And what jumps out to me first, I can take this pawn on d4. It's defended, kind of. It's defended by a pinned piece. My bishop is looking at that queen, x-raying that queen. Therefore, the white knight is pinned. It can't move. And a pinned piece can't defend another piece. So, in effect, this pawn on d4 is undefended. So I see that capture there as being pretty darn good. Now, I bet I could do this in another way too, and I honestly do not remember what move I played here. I could take this bishop, bishop could take the knight first, and white would respond in one of 2 ways. Their queen can take back, or their pawn can take back. In either case, if their queen moves out, I can still take this knight. I can still take this pawn in the middle. And in fact, it's kind of nice because then I'd be attacking their queen. And if they took with the pawn, I can still take this pawn. If they take here, I can still take that pawn. And I'd have the benefit of their structure, their pawn structure in front of their white king being messed up. So either way, I can see this pawn going down right here. That is a weak, undefended pawn that black can win. So what's the better response? Take with the knight right away, or bishop takes knight first and then go to this? It says knight takes d4 on the engine is the best move. The next best move is bishop takes f3. So the top 2 best moves are what we're looking at, but there is a significant difference. Knight takes d3 is significantly better than bishop takes f3. Knight takes d4 is significantly better. I'm going to hit the arrow on my keyboard, and that's what I did. And I think the thought process I had there is there's kind of this mantra, don't take pinned pieces, attack them. Well, this knight is pinned, and I don't want to be so quick to take it. Now, sometimes you do take pinned pieces, but overall, don't take pinned pieces, attack them. So if I'm not going to take this pinned piece, and instead I want to apply more pressure, I want to attack it, well then by all means, knight to d4 is clearly the better move because I'm getting a pawn and I'm adding pressure to this pinned piece. And the pinned piece can't move. Chess with Akeem, you got to watch his YouTube channel. fantastic chess player, great teacher. One of his sayings is PP on the PP, put pressure on the pinned piece. And he's right. Put pressure on the pinned piece. Okay? The rook coming down doesn't really change anything. The knight is still pinned, so black is starting to get a tremendous advantage now. Now, I took, and that's the best move, and it seems like I'm violating my own rule, put pressure on the pinned piece, but I don't see an easy way for black to add another attacker to this knight. And now, by taking, white can only respond in two ways. They're going to take with their rook, which would not be ideal, or they're going to take with their pawn. If they take with their rook, I'm just going to capture it with my knight. They'd be giving up a 5-point rook for a 3-point knight. That would be much better for me, for black. So really, they have to take back with the pawn. That's their best move, and of course, now their king is much more exposed. Okay, here's an inaccuracy by me. To me, this seemed like a smart move, hence that's why I did it, right? I'm getting my queen off of the starting square. I'm connecting my rooks, and I'm also starting to let my queen eye this position up here. So this is not a blunder, but it's an inaccurate move. I had something that I could have done better. Now, if I look at the eval bar, before I make this move, black is favored by 3.28, 3.3, let's say. After I make that queen move, black's advantage drops to 2.5. Okay, so it's still a very good advantage for black, but my advantage was reduced. So instead of making that queen move, I can see getting this knight out of the way, allowing my bishop to protect my d knight. Right now, my d knight is undefended. So I do need to be cautious of that. But I feel ready to attack. Boy, I really do like that queen move. I'll be curious to find out, and I'll check the engine here in just a moment, if this queen move is like the second best move or the third best move. Because I really do like getting that queen out. You know what? This square here, f4, could be a good spot for a knight. I could jump it around there. Or pushing this e-pawn forward really protects my knight here. It keeps white from pushing forward. Oh, I'm liking that a lot more now. Yeah. Pawn to e5. What does it say over here? Bishop h6 was the top move. Bishop h6. That makes sense, right? You have a rook on this diagonal. That's a good move, and I'm a little disappointed myself. I didn't even consider that bishop move. Seeing this diagonal where that rook is kind of stuck in there. And the rook would have to move all the way back to its home square, or not really its home square, to the back rank, because my knight is protecting e2. So I do see why that's the best move, 3.45. However, e5 is the second best engine move. There we go. So yeah, if you're studying your position, and what is it, knight h5 is the third best move, which I also considered, right? Knight h5, and then probably at some point knight f4, is that on that line? Yep, knight takes f4, so they're theorizing that something gets pushed, and then we move over there. So yeah, it's okay if any of us misses the best move all the time. We're never going to get the best move all the time. Even those top players like Magnus Carlsen and Hikaru Nakamura, they're not hitting the best move every single time. It's okay to miss those, but when you go through your games and study them, it's good, it feels good, it builds your confidence if you start to spot some of those top three moves. And if you're consistently spotting those top three moves in your analysis, that means you're getting closer to spotting those top three moves in a game when you don't even have the engine displayed. Okay, let's move on. Doing pretty good here. And inaccurate move. Boy, I really wanted to move that queen around. And that does have an impact on the eval bar. Seems pretty significant here. And I'm wondering at this stage I can probably start some kind of an attack. Now, having my knight on f4 looks really good because I'm blocking this queen coming in for sure. Oh, no, I don't think I should have done that. Yeah, queen move is wrong. What should I have done? What about this? Bishop move. Bishop targets the queen. The queen has to move out of the way. Then I could start to trade down pieces. I have a one-pawn advantage, which is pretty good. But really, I need to focus on that attack. But yeah, that bishop move, bishop to f4, knight to f4 seem like better moves. Yeah, knight f4 is the top move. Bishop f4 is the second best move. Okay. Attacking chess. Yeah, sometimes I think my chess play might be a little bit too passive. I'm not taking the time to look for those attacking moves. Okay, now the knight comes to f4. I take care of that one. Okay, so I started to see a sacrifice here. So wait a minute, what's going on with this? Well, the knight taking on h3 seems like I'm sacking something, but I'm really not, because it is a discovered check. My bishop gets exposed, and it can now see the king, which means this knight is not at risk for being taken. King moves away, best move. I move my king or my knight back. This is another discovered check. Okay, I think I was getting a little bit proud of myself here. I could see the end in sight for white, so I decided to take that bishop. Not the best move. That was an inaccuracy. Queen g5. I glanced over at the engine there, so I saw the answer. Queen g5 is best. Ah, queen down here, threatening mate on the next move. So, had I moved my queen to g5, what could white have done? A king move wouldn't work, because checkmate would be the next course of action. I guess technically they could have moved one over. That's not so good either, because even after I check, they would move one more over, and then queen here would be checkmate. So, missed a checkmate opportunity, just so you can see what I'm talking about here. Queen moves here. Of course, they can take, but I would take back with the bishop, so they would have to sacrifice their queen. Let's say their king moves one over. I take the bishop with check. King only has one move to make, right here. And then, oh, that's not a checkmate. Oh, it is checkmate. Yeah, queen g1 is checkmate. Yeah, the king cannot escape because that square is protected by the knight. It's got a square blocked by its own queen, and of course, that square d1 is protected as guard is being attacked by my queen. So that would have been checkmate, and that is why my move was not ideal. So I could have finished that game a little bit earlier, and I'll just kind of move this back a little bit. And at some point, I don't think this game ended in checkmate. I think my opponent may have resigned. Yeah, at this stage of the game. So, yeah, at this point, again, this rook is pinned. It can't be moved. So I have learned the lesson. Don't take pinned pieces, attack them. And how do I attack it? I attack it with a pawn. So even though the king, well, the king really doesn't have a lot of moves. The king cannot move. And he can't move over to e1 because my rook is guarding that file. It can't move to e2 because my pawn is guarding that file. It can't really move here because my next move is going to be queen takes, and that would be checkmate. So checkmate was just a move away. Okay, so that was another pretty good chess game. This one maybe didn't have the same big learning opportunities from my draw in round one. This was the round two game, but certainly The same themes for me are there. And as you study your games, you are going to notice themes to yours. You're going to notice where your key skills are. You're going to notice where your key weaknesses are. And once we acknowledge what our weaknesses are, and it looks like my weakness might be rushing through moves, not looking at all of the opportunities that my pieces might have. So I need to take more time and calculate more carefully. What do you need to do for your games? Take care.